Tony Perkins, and this is Washington Watch. So glad you are with us. The website, tonyperkins.com. Lots of resources there for you at the website. All right, Harvard is scheduled to host a homeschooling summit in June. The summit is designed to bring together experts from across the educational spectrum, or some spectrum, to discuss the, quote, problems of educational deprivation and child maltreatment that too often occurs under the guise of homeschooling in a legal environment of minimal or no oversight, end quote. Well, in an effort to set the stage, apparently, a professor of law and director of Harvard's Law School's Child Advocacy Legal Clinic has an essay in Harvard Magazine where, among other things, she claims homeschooling is a threat to children's rights. Joining me now is Mike Donnelly, Senior Counsel for Homeschool Legal Defense Association. Mike, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Well, thank you, Tony. It's great to be with you again.
Attacks on homeschooling are nothing new, but it looks like it's being ratcheted up again. I think Professor Elizabeth Bartholet puts this essay in the Harvard Magazine. The timing of it's kind of interesting, with a lot of children across America now at school being homeschooled. At least they're being, I guess it's a stretch to say they're being homeschooled. They're doing their work at home from school. But two things are happening. One, parents may find that this is not such a bad thing. And two, they're now seeing firsthand what their kids are being taught. That's a threat to the left, is it not?
Well, it's a threat to anybody who wants to indoctrinate children in a particular point of view, and I think that's one reason why some people homeschool. But look, Tony, homeschooling is a mainstream educational alternative. There are over 2.5 million children homeschooled every year. I saw some tweets over the weekend about this article quoting from Professor Bartholet's Arizona Law Review Journal article, and it's a pretty amazing to me how many people have come out in defense of homeschooling. Experts, people like Senator Ted Cruz. There are literally dozens of articles in the last 3 days calling out this article and this professor's point of view as just being extreme. Her assertions about abuse and what homeschooling families are is unsubstantiated. It's not supported by the research. I mean, look, homeschooling is it's a fast-growing movement. It's a diversifying movement. You've got people on the left, on the right, who are homeschooling for many reasons. They have children with special needs. They want their children to be able to pursue their own interests. They're not happy with the state of the public schools, and content is just one of those things that people are not happy about in the schools.
Well, yeah, right. It's been growing, originally associated most predominantly with people of faith who were concerned about the indoctrination of their children. That still is a large percentage. And of course, she takes issue with that, saying that it's depriving children of being taught the principles of democracy and community values, i.e. indoctrination. I see this as the left, as they lose control of children leaving the public school system. And as you pointed out, that's growing in number, many for security reasons, some for curriculum, some for religious reasons. And I think others will be exposed to the concept through what we're experiencing right now with children being out of school and being at home. I think some parents, hopefully, will actually enjoy the interaction they have with their children.
Well, we're actually seeing that, Tony. In fact, that's one of the reasons why HSLDA has launched a brand new website called mompossible.org. Now millions and millions of children are at home. We call them suddenly schooling at home. And, there's quite a spectrum of reaction around the country for school districts. Some are throwing up their hands, places like Michigan, and just saying, look, as Governor Whitmer said, we're just going to suspend all in-person instruction. And they even did so for non-public schools, which one questions whether she even has the authority to do that. But she did. Some places, some states are saying, well, we're not going to stop instructing. We're just going to move everything online. And so, or we're going to email you worksheets. And so you've got this spectrum where some parents are like trying to figure out what to do with their kids. They've been given total freedom but they've never had it before, and they're trying to figure out what to do, and they're also trying to work during this coronavirus pandemic. On the other side, you've got parents who are being demanded by schools to basically become teachers, and they're frustrated by that, and they're having to work from home, and they're having to have 2 or 3 kids. They've got 3 or 4 teachers for each of the kids emailing them, and they're having to check in, and so it's very frustrating for people. And so our website, mompossible.org, is a resource for people to kind of help them cope a little bit and try to get a handle on what's happening and the stresses that everybody is experiencing. And as you pointed out, crisis schooling or corona schooling or whatever you want to call it is very different from the kind of homeschooling that you've done and that I do with my family with 7 children. The hallmark of kind of your typical homeschooling is freedom from rigid schedules, flexibility for kids to follow their interests and different, kinds of things. And as you pointed out, to kind of enjoy the relationship of being in a family.
Yeah. And I think some parents will all of a sudden discover, wait a minute, it doesn't take the kids that long to get their lessons done. Why are they spending so much time at school? And they're able to get through this in such a quick period of time. Now, I do understand it's apples and oranges comparison because you work at your own pace and you tailor the education of your children to your children, and there are so many resources available out there today. I just think that, again, parents who, we have children for a reason. God gives them to parents. It doesn't give them to the public schools or to the government. But if we rediscover that relationship and all of a sudden we realize what we're missing by shipping our kids off to school, I just think we could possibly, I think you could see an explosion in homeschooling even further than what we've seen in the last 2 decades.
I think you're right, Tony. I think a lot of people a year from now are going to look back on this coronavirus pandemic and they're going to point to this as kind of a time when they realize that, homeschooling is something we can do and we really like it. We like having our kids at home. We like this relationship. We realize that, our kids can actually have time to play, especially for the younger kids. Kids need that kind of unstructured play time. The older kids can have the flexibility to explore, areas of interest that they're interested in and talented at. Every child is unique, and you and I both believe that each person has a plan and a purpose from God for their lives, and homeschooling allows families, whether they believe in God or not, to allow their children to explore those kinds of pathways. We're seeing interest. We're seeing a lot of Facebook posts, a lot of social media posts of parents who are saying exactly what you just said, which is, this isn't so bad, and we do get the schoolwork done in 2 or 3 hours, and then we can go on walks and we can play outside. And, we're hearing about parents, about kids who are, checking in with their school teachers online, even during the online school, and saying, over the weekend, my dad taught me how to change the oil in my car and I cooked with my mom. And I think there's a lot of really positive things happening, even though, it's a very challenging time for a lot of people economically.
The only caveat, Mike, and I think you would agree, having homeschooled your kids, and this comes from my wife, who's done the bulk of the educating of our 5 children, 1 still in the pipeline. You take it 1 semester at a time, because you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, and you just got to. But I will tell you, looking back on it from a standpoint of having 4 that we've educated at home, who some are off now in college, some are off now successful careers, is that we never regret doing that because of the relationships that were built with the kids, the open communication, and just the it's kind of hard to explain, but it is really good. And when you get to the point where you've actually launched them out successfully into their own careers, and you continue to have those ongoing conversations and relationships that really have their root. They're rooted in the fact that they were taught by mom at home.
Well, and it is mostly moms who do it. We know there's some dads out there also. But what I'd like people to know, Tony, is what the research shows is that homeschooling works. There's a lot of research, and that's why Elizabeth Bartholet's article is so extreme and really it's absurd, because it's not based on the facts.
Yeah.
If they had really looked at the facts, they would not have come to those conclusions. But the facts show is that homeschool kids do at least as well, and a lot of research shows that they do better academically. They do fine socially. They grow up, they join the military, they have jobs, careers, families. They're just like regular Americans, except that they were taught at home by mom, and they're feeling very fulfilled, many of them. In fact, some research has shown that over 85-90% of people who were homeschooled and graduated from homeschooling plan to homeschool their own kids and actually had a very good experience.
Right.
So, if people are thinking right now, can I do this? The answer is you can do it. You can keep doing it as well. That's why we put out this Mom Possible website, lots of videos and resources that people can go and get some encouragement and some direction from. But I hope people will, as you said, look back on this time and say, that wasn't so bad. Maybe we should keep doing this.
Well, we hope they will. And we will point them to the website of Homeschool Legal Defense Association so they can make use of all the great resources you have. Mike, thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, Tony, thank you very much. We appreciate the work that you do in FRC, such an important contribution to our culture and to society. And I'd encourage folks to come over and check out mompossible.org.
All right. Thanks so much, Mike. Hope a lot of people use those resources as they discover this thing called schooling at home.